Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to be looking at soft innovation
Ooh,
and how anybody can be a champion for change.
okay.
And we're going to be looking at some excerpts from an audiobook on this topic.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, when we think about innovation, a lot of times we think about, big R&D
Right.
departments and labs and
Inventing something.
huge
Big,
budgets and
yeah.
stuff. But actually, some of the most impactful changes
Absolutely.
come from very simple tweaks
Yes.
to existing systems.
That's right.
They're almost like free prizes out there just waiting to be discovered.
It's so funny you should say that because that's actually a term that's used in the book
Oh,
that
great.
we're going to be talking about today. They actually call these free prizes.
Wow.
These like little
Peony
things that
pecan.
can be improved upon without some huge
Yeah.
technological leap.
Right.
Um,
Like what?
So, for example, I mean, something as simple as the Starbucks card.
Oh, yeah, that's genius.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they revolutionized how we buy coffee and built this incredible loyalty program,
Totally.
but it didn't require inventing some crazy new technology.
No, it's just a simple tweak.
Right.
Right.
Or like putting slots in FedEx trucks so people can just drop off a package.
That's so convenient.
Super convenient. And it made their process so much more efficient.
Yeah.
So these are like the kinds of things we're talking about.
So if these opportunities, these free prizes are just kind of like lying around waiting to be discovered,
Yeah.
why aren't more people seizing them?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. It's
Well-
almost like we're programmed to resist change even when we know it's needed.
Mhm.
And part of this, I think, goes back to the way the modern workplace is structured. We're kind of rewarded for following instructions, but then expected to be innovative at the same time.
It's like a paradox almost.
It is. It's like we're fighting against our own nature.
Hmm.
And a lot of this, we can trace back to Henry Ford.
Oh, yeah, Henry Ford and his impact on the modern workplace.
He's the one who really brought this factory-style efficiency to the forefront. And his methods, while they revolutionized manufacturing,
Yeah.
they also fostered this culture of following orders, which made sense for factory workers.
Sure.
But now we're seeing that same mindset, seeping into white-collar jobs,
Right.
where innovation is actually...
Absolutely. It's
that-
totally different.
Yeah.
So it's like we're stuck in this system that rewards us for being obedient,
Yes.
but then simultaneously expects us to come up with these brilliant new ideas.
Exactly. It's like we're being set up to fail in a way.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the role of the champion becomes so important.
Okay.
It's about understanding how to navigate that tension, how to push for change within a system that's often designed to resist it.
So you're saying that to be a champion for change,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to be like some brilliant inventor or
Not at all.
a visionary.
It's a separate skill set.
Okay.
It's about leadership.
Yeah.
It's about persuasion.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the psychology of how people react to new ideas.
That makes sense.
Uh.
So what are some of the key things that champions do differently?
Well, one thing they do really well is understanding the questions that people are going to ask about any new idea.
Okay, so what are the questions?
Well, there are three main ones that come up time and time again. The first is, will it be successful?
Makes sense. That's a big one.
Right. People want to know that their time and resources are being well spent.
Yeah, no one wants to back a loser.
Exactly. Then there's, is it worth doing?
Okay, so even if something is likely to succeed, there might be other reasons why it's not worth pursuing.
Right. It might be too expensive or too time-consuming, or maybe it just doesn't align with the company's overall goals.
Mm.
And then the third question, and this one's really interesting, is this person the right one to lead it?
Well, that's a good one.
This gets to the heart of credibility and trust.
So it's not enough to have a great idea.
No,
You also have to convince people that you're the right person to make it happen.
you got it.
So a successful champion is someone who can address all three of those questions.
Exactly. They anticipate the doubts and objections, and they have a strategy for overcoming them.
So how do you do that? Like, how do you convince someone that your idea will actually work?
Confidence is definitely key.
Sure.
But there's also this really clever tactic that the book talks about called scorification.
Scorification. What is that?
It's basically a way of making your revolutionary idea seem less risky by highlighting elements that are already familiar and trusted.
So you're not presenting something totally radical and new. You're making it feel like a natural progression from what's already in place.
Exactly. Think about it like those early digital watches that still had those little clock hands on them.
Oh,
Even though the technology was completely different,
right.
those familiar elements helped people make the transition to something new.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got someone's attention with your super innovative yet somehow familiar idea.
Yeah.
How do you then convince them that it's actually worth pursuing, that it's worth investing time and resources in?
Well, that's where understanding your audience comes in.
Okay,
Different people are motivated by different things.
sure.
So you need to tailor your message to resonate with those specific motivations.
So if someone is really motivated by efficiency, you might highlight how your idea will streamline processes and save time.
Exactly. Or if someone is concerned about costs, you might focus on the potential savings that your idea could generate.
Right. It's about framing your idea as a solution to their specific pain points.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, so you've addressed the first two questions.
Yeah.
You've convinced someone that your idea is likely to succeed and that it's worth doing.
Yeah.
But now you have to tackle that third question. Is this the right person to lead this?
Right. And this is all about building a reputation as a champion.
So it's not something that happens overnight.
No, it takes time and consistent effort.
So what are some of the things that you can do to build that reputation?
Well, it starts with consistently demonstrating your ability to get things done.
Well,
Start with those smaller wins that build credibility.
so like what kind of smaller wins are we
Yeah.
talking about?
It could be anything from championing lunch for the team to finding a workaround for a frustrating customer service issue to leading a small project successfully.
So basically anything that shows that you're someone who can take initiative and make things happen.
Exactly. You're not just building a better product or service.
Right.
You're building a reputation as someone who gets results.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about the mindset of a champion
Yes.
and the importance of building a reputation as someone who can get things done.
Right.
Now, I'm really curious to hear about some of the specific tactical strategies that champions use to get their ideas heard and implemented.
Me too. Let's dive into the tactical toolkit and see what we can find.
The tactical toolkit.
Okay.
I'm ready. What kind of sneaky strategies are we talking about here?
Well, one that really stood out to me is called denigrating the status quo.
Denigrating the status quo.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of harsh.
It's not about being negative or like complaining all the time.
Okay.
It's more about subtly highlighting what's broken or inefficient in the current system.
I see. So you're kind of creating this sense of urgency. Like, hey, we're losing customers because our onboarding process is terrible.
Exactly. You're not attacking anyone, but you are creating the context for your solution to really shine.
Okay. I like that. So what else is in this toolkit?
Well, speaking of making things shine, prototypes are super powerful.
Oh, yeah. Prototypes. I love prototypes.
They take this abstract idea and make it tangible. You know, instead of just talking about it, people can actually see it, touch it, interact with it.
Right. And it helps to overcome that fear of the unknown, I think.
Absolutely. And you don't even have to have every single detail figured out. You know, just start building something, get it out there.
Yeah, just get that momentum going.
Exactly. There's another tactic they talk about called the gimme cap effect.
The gimme cap effect. What is that?
It's about creating a sense of momentum and shared identity by giving supporters a visible symbol of their buy-in.
With a badge of honor.
Exactly. When people see others enthusiastically on board with an idea, it's like, hey, I want to be part of this movement too.
It's like wearing your favorite band's t-shirt. You know,
Exactly.
you're signaling that you believe in something.
Totally. Okay, let's talk about PowerPoint. It gets a bad rap sometimes,
Oh, PowerPoint. Yeah.
but it can actually be really effective if you use it the right way.
But okay, so how do you use PowerPoint the right way?
It's all about remembering that PowerPoint is about emotion, not bullet points.
Emotion. Okay.
Yeah. You want to tell a story, paint a picture, make people feel something, you know, limit the text, use strong visuals, even incorporate sound effects if it makes sense.
Create an experience.
Exactly. The audiobook actually has a bunch of great tips on this.
Oh.
Like, they recommend having a separate, more detailed document that you hand out after the presentation. That way people can really focus on your message during the presentation and then dive into the specifics later.
That's a great idea. Okay, I've got another one for you. What about asking questions instead of like directly answering objections?
Oh, that's a good one. It's about guiding the conversation rather than getting defensive. So let's say someone raises an objection. Instead of immediately jumping in to refute it, you might say, that's a great point. Can you help me understand why that's a concern?
So you're acknowledging their concern, but you're also prompting them to articulate it more fully.
Exactly. And sometimes just acknowledging the objection is enough to disarm it. People just
Hmm.
want to feel heard.
Right. Okay, this next one might sound a little strange, but the audiobook calls it letting them pee on your idea.
I love that one.
What is that?
It's so funny.
Okay, explain that one.
So it's actually a really brilliant strategy for getting buy-in. And the idea is that if you allow people to tweak your idea to make small changes, they start to feel a sense of ownership over it.
So it's not about being rigidly attached to your original vision.
No, it's about being open to collaboration and incorporating feedback.
So it becomes our idea, not just my idea.
Exactly. And once people feel like it's their idea, they're much more likely to champion it themselves.
That's so smart. I love that. Okay, what else have you got?
Well, there's also this idea of thinking like an artist.
Thinking like an artist. So,
Yeah, artists understand that there's no such thing as perfection. It's all about iteration, experimentation, constantly refining your vision.
and they're not afraid to share their work in progress and get feedback.
Right, the more eyes on their work, the better. And then finally, remember to sell individuals, not the organization.
Sell individuals, not the organization. What do you mean by that?
So big meetings are great for announcements,
Sure.
but when you're trying to win hearts and minds for a new idea, one-on-one conversations are key.
So it's about those personal connections, tailoring your message to each person's specific concerns and motivations.
Exactly. It's like a personalized sales pitch.
Okay, so we've seen some really interesting tactical strategies here. But what's in it for the listener? Why should they care about becoming a champion within their organization? Okay, so we've talked about what soft innovation is, and we've gone over some of the tactical strategies that champions use. But now I'm curious, like, what's in it for the listener? Why should someone care about becoming a champion for change within their organization?
Well, aside from, the satisfaction of making things better and the potential recognition you might receive, there's this powerful advantage that the book calls the journeyman advantage.
The journeyman advantage. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this. What does that even mean?
So it's kind of like this. It's about becoming the kind of person who can make a difference anywhere. You build a skill set that transcends any specific company or industry. Think of like a skilled craftsperson, a journeyman. They could walk into any workshop and immediately be valuable.
So it's less about like climbing the corporate ladder in one particular organization
Right.
and more about developing this versatile skill set that's in demand everywhere.
Exactly. And in today's world where things are changing so rapidly, that adaptability is more valuable than ever.
That makes a lot of sense. Companies might come and go, industries might transform, but the ability to identify problems, develop solutions, and champion those ideas through to implementation, that's a skill set that will always be relevant.
Absolutely. It makes you a more valuable asset, not just to your current employer, but to any future employer as well.
You're not just an employee, you're a problem solver.
Exactly. You become the driver, not the passenger.
I love that. Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this right now and they're feeling inspired. They're thinking, all right, I want to become a champion. Where do I even start? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, don't get overwhelmed.
Right.
Don't try to tackle some huge company-wide initiative right out of the gate. Start small.
Well,
Find a project that's challenging enough to be engaging, but manageable enough to give you those early wins.
so maybe look for those free prizes we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Those small but meaningful improvements that you can make within your existing role.
So maybe it's streamlining a workflow process or improving communication within your team or coming up with a better way to manage those dreaded meetings.
Right. The key is to pick something where you can apply those championing skills we talked about and build a track record of success.
And as you gain experience, as you build that reputation as a champion, you'll naturally start attracting those bigger, more challenging projects.
Exactly. People will start to see you as the go-to person for getting things done, for making things better.
And that's how you become a true champion of change.
Exactly. It's an amazing journey.
Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive. I've learned so much about soft innovation and the power of championing change.
Me too. It's really inspiring stuff.
Absolutely. So for anyone listening out there, I had a challenge for you. What's one free prize you could champion today? What small change, no matter how seemingly minor, could you make that would have a positive ripple effect within your organization?
The power is in your hands. Don't let it go to waste.